Welcome to The View with Vertex, the show that takes you behind the scenes with some of the most influential people, personalities, and companies shaping the scaffolding industry.
And we were like, hey, we want to build like scaffolding robot. Hey, robot's gonna overtake everything. Someone's life is better because of what I'm doing.
He is the founder of KEWAZO, creator of Liftbot. Artem Kuchukov is revolutionizing scaffolding. With cutting-edge automation, he is aiming to transform the industry.
It's a powerful thing.
Scaffolding companies, they were like, okay guys, let's talk.
Most scaffolders would think the opposite. Welcome to a very special edition of The View with Vertex. We are recording live from Belfast. We're here at ScaffEx and, friends of the show, old friends of the show now, KEWAZO. But first time me and you have actually met in person is here in Belfast. Artem, welcome to the limited edition, special edition of The View with Vertex.
Thank you, Isaac. Not Scaff Champ this time, right?
No, it seems like every time we get together with KEWAZO, it's something to do with Scaff Champ. That said, great then.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, this is really cool too. So many questions. So many questions I've probably asked Simon when he's been on. I've asked Jonas so many questions, and I guess they all have different answers based on their own, personal perspective. But they all seem aligned, kind of on the same mission. From the stuff that we've spoken about before, technology and robotics and all the rest of it. Everyone seems really passionate about the space that you're in, which is cool. You can feel that when you speak to the rest of the guys. But for you personally, because you're the founder, right? Do you know what I mean? From day one, week one. What motivates you? What's got you into this space?
Yeah, I would say we have over time. We went through different motivations, right? I will probably split them into three main areas. First, we were students of Technical University of Munich, and we were coming from all different backgrounds, like robotics, business, like automation, software engineering. So the first thing, we were really motivated by technology. That was kind of our first motivation. And I think right after that, we figured out that there is a big social component into this, in a sense of really helping people, really improving people's life. And that's what's I think one of the biggest motivations for us right now, to actually seeing that there are real people who come to us and say that we made their life easier, that now they come to home and they just feel much better. And I think the third component over time, once company grows, I think what we saw that was quite important, that what we're doing aligns with general trends in the industry, in the world. And that kind of what allows us to do what we're doing.
Right. So personal motivation, it sounds like you're doing, geeks is the wrong one, but technology, you love technology, you love robotics, and then you sort of there's a social component to it. And you can actually improve people's lives through technology. I guess that's where, people use the words mission statement, don't they? Quite a lot. Does KEWAZO have anything like that, mission statement?
Yeah, absolutely. Improving lives of the people on site. That's what motivates each of us. That's what really moves us forward. I think these days, quite often young people actually miss the reason why they do something. It's these days, if you want to get engineers or young people, nobody wants to work on an app that makes your groceries delivered 2 minutes faster than another app. You know what I'm saying? It's like what am I doing with my life a bit, So every time there is an opportunity to actually impact something, to find a cure to cancer, or to actually have people improve people's lives, or save someone's life, I think it's a really strong motivation. And that what I personally, I looked into myself, and I derive a lot of pleasure when I see that I actually can help someone, and it's actually someone's life is better because of what I'm doing. And that's what we saw.
Yeah, I think so. I think you need that sort of North Star. You need something to aim for. I think the same with any business. If you've got a thing and that thing makes money, money's a great motivator for a lot of people, but for me, and I think for a lot of people, like you said, young people, especially in general, they need that sort of that goal that they're pulling towards, that kind of motivation. And you can show people that, yes, you're actually impacting people's lives and making their lives better. I mean, I know so many scaffolders in the sort of 50s, 60s, which isn't really, in the modern era, it's not old. People at 50, you've still got a long life in front of you. But people who've been in the scaffolding industry for a long time, really struggling with, bad hips, bad backs, wrists, real sort of chronic ailments due to the job that we said. It's a tough physical job. And to give people within your business that sort of, well, this is what we do. We try to improve people's lives.
Yeah,
it's a powerful thing. Do you know what I mean? We'll get people out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in the beginning it was a bit of a theory. It was a bit of a assumption that we had. That I
think that's how everything starts, isn't it? It's like you don't know necessarily what the industry wants. You have an inkling of what you think it might want. But it takes a lot of bravery to pursue that, and
and a lot of stupidity as well.
Yeah.
if when you're young, you just don't know what you're signing up for. We started working on this like 8 years ago, so we just did not know how hard it is and what's up in front of us, and that was our, I think, biggest advantage.
When we were speaking last night, you used a really interesting analogy of life in business and all the rest of it, and you used the analogy of like going down a ski slope. 80 miles an hour, and you're avoiding trees, and you really have to enjoy doing that for it, to be able to stay doing that and kind of commit to it. And I thought it was a really apt analogy for for life and business. It can be, it's dangerous, right? At times.
Yep.
There's a lot of obstacles to navigate, and what happens when you fall off. And I'm sure there's been many times during the journey with KEWAZO where you probably hit the tree or, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, my to that, like my favorite my favorite saying that I keep remembering over and over comes from the like British Prime Minister. What was his name during the Second World War?
Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill, yeah. Just forgot.
I know it.
And
is it?
The saying is, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Yes, I love it.
So I've been.
It's one of my favorites also.
It's just amazing, It's like we are in the UK, so
yeah.
So it's a really I mean I've been saying it to myself so many times, and it's just paid off so many times. So
yeah, you do. You find you have these sort of like inner mantras that kind of get you through things, and that's definitely one of mine. Definitely one of my say a lot as well. If you're going through hell, keep going. I mean, there's no point in stopping. You may as well just get your head down and keep trucking away.
Yeah.
If it's better than where you are now, then there's so many times you could just pack it all in. But it's like, what would you do?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what makes us. What doesn't kill us make us stronger, right? So.
But it's not for the faint-hearted. I think a lot of people, it's easy to look from the outside and go, oh, fantastic company, KEWAZO, look at all these great things they're doing, and boy, it must be like to be that guy. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like everybody has their cross to carry, right? So
yeah, absolutely. So from like obviously motivations and what got you inspired into robotics and engineering and producing the Liftbot. Since you've done that, and it's gained a lot of positive press and a lot of there's been a lot of interest in the products in the industry. What sort of trends have you seen that from construction that you could compare? Challenges that Liftbots maybe addressed?
Yeah, I think over time, one of the most important trends we see is labor shortage. Is really, I think it's across the world. It's not only in the UK, it's not only in Europe, not only in Germany. The same thing happens in the US, in Canada. Labor shortage is, I think, the main challenge we're all experiencing right now. There are just not enough men to do the job anymore, or not enough who wants to do the job, right? And that's like with all the like geopolitical tensions and all the developments we see right now, that's only going to get worse. The developed countries, the population gets older, and but we still need to do more. We have more to get done, and that comes to all aspects of our life, right? And I think construction is one of the most impacted areas, specifically scaffolding assembly. It's just, you know, if you just think about the job itself, this is like, you know, your children probably not looking forward. I mean, you probably also not looking forward your children to be scaffold builders, right? So it's,
funnily enough, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think
wouldn't hurt for a few weeks.
Yeah, you know, to build a bit of resilience and resolve.
Yeah.
I might. The only thing I miss about owning, I mean, we talk about the challenges of business, and you know, you do get plenty of smacks in the mouth owning a scaffold company. One thing that I miss is like taking the kids to the yard, and you know, letting them see what it's like to have
the real life.
Yeah, you know, a manual job. And then sometimes I think, you know, what I couldn't. My son, I know I have daughters as well, but I always think like, could he inherit this business? He'd probably have to learn as a scaffolder first, and I'd like to sort of be with him on that journey if he did become a scaffolder. And he's obsessed with it as well. The boy, he's obsessed with scaffolding. So
maybe there are ways to channel that energy, right? And it's where he will.
But I mean, the thing is, this with skill shortage, yes, we have to absolutely address it with bringing more people in and inspiring them to come into the industry. But we also have to see it for what it is. You know, people have got easier lives. Technology has improved in many other areas, and you know, if you could earn £200 a day, for example, sat behind a desk in a nice warm environment, tea, coffee available whenever you need it, and you know, what would motivate somebody to go out into the cold, you know, and do scaffolding?
Funny enough, you're talking about this. We were just chatting with my girlfriend last week, and she said that she would actually prefer to have a job where 50% of her time she spends in office, and 50% of the time she like does something like, you know, like not physical, but you know, where it will be some movement, because just being in office as well, it's not like all the time. It's also not you know, good for your health, right?
Yeah. You know what I think? You know, this other saying, the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
On the other side, like you tend to think that when you're in the, you know, out in the cold, I'd love to sit down in an office and an office job and all the rest of it. But now, like, I'd say it's 60-70% of my working life is in an office or inside at a desk, and I'm like, oh God, I miss being outside. Sometimes I just get out, have a walk out of the office, and you know, get out there. You do kind of miss it. So I think that another good sort of analogy for that is like what happened during COVID, right? Like a lot of people started to work from home, and you know, and everyone was like, oh, this is brilliant. You know, you don't have to get out with your pajamas. You could like
not scaffold builders though.
Yeah, not scaffold builders, unfortunately, but like a lot of people found out they could do the job from home, and it to everybody it almost sounded like, oh, this is brilliant. Don't have to drive to the office, no more commuting. I could sit in my pajamas and you know, do my work, and you know, it sounds good until you're doing it, and then when you experience it for a long period of time, you think, God, I'd, you know, just love to be just talking shit to some people in the office about football, and you know. Same when you're in the office, you think, God, I kind of miss being outside. But equally, I will say, sometimes I do jump out on site and help friends out, and you know, get the tools on every now and again, and the novelty wears off quite quickly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does. So from a technology standpoint, sort of where do you see the future with robotics and this sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, from the technology standpoint, I think like what motivated us at the beginning was the fact that scaffolding is a very structured environment. You know, one of the reasons why construction is so unautomated in comparison to manufacturing, for example, right? Like in manufacturing today, you see robots working in like no lights 24/7 doing the same welding jobs. The reason for this is because robots are positioned in one spot. Everything is very well structured, predefined, everything works. Construction site is different though. Construction site is very unique every time you go.
Dynamic as well.
It's a dynamic, it's unstructured. You have a lot of people in it, right? So every construction site is unique. So that is why it's so hard to automate it, right? So that's where I personally come from a construction robotics background. So he's one of my co-founders. And we learned that the areas where you have a lot of structure has a lot of potential. They have a lot of potential for automation.
Ah, right.
So scaffolding. So we essentially made a research.
So did that motivate you to get into scaffolding? Was it just that scaffolding was the thing that was kind of the most?
It was one of the most structured things. The same as, for example, formwork, right? But formwork was a bit like it's a different beast to deal with. Thanks God we didn't go that direction. But initially, that was our thought process. That was. We had like a student project where we were like from idea to prototype in 2 weeks. And that was our initial thought. We were like, Leo, one of my co-founders, said, hey, let's look into the scaffolding. It just makes so much sense from the automation standpoint. We're like, let's do it, right? And we started doing this, and then we started talking to the scaffolding companies. And then we went to Bauma, which was like 1 week right after the course. And we started talking to the companies, and we learned that, the labor shortage topic, right? The topic of how inefficient it is, right? The topic of safety was a big one. That in general, like everything is going in the direction that things should get more safer. And that's kind of how we got into this more like that, where we found this kind of a social and like a personal motivation afterwards.
Right. That's so interesting. That's the fact that it was like, of all the things on site that you're working in automation, and the scaffolding's like the most sticks, and therefore the most, and like I think most scaffolders would think the opposite. They would think that it's like the least structured.
Yeah.
Especially in the UK where we use up quite a lot of tube.
Yeah.
It's every single component, every single frame
is unique, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Some of them probably too much so.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of the challenges is working with tube and fitting is try to keep that that, how can I put it?
You're gonna be an artist.
Yeah.
Bit, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you kind of there's a lot of leveling and measuring and keeping things straight. There's definitely an art to it, but yeah, it's very interesting to learn that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but if you look at, like, for example, system scaffolding, right? Just think about that. The diameter of a tube is always the same. You get the length; they are predefined, right? You pretty much have them always the same, right? Like it's the same step. Connectors are the same, right? So if you look from this perspective, it is a pretty defined problem to deal with, because that's where people nowadays speak all the time about, hey, robots gonna overtake everything and what we're gonna do in the world. I mean, the reality is that it's really hard for robots to deal with undefined world, right? That's why you can have welding robots, but you don't have construction robots, because it's such a different problem. It's so much harder to deal with it, right? Because
I guess the cost in a lot of scenarios outweigh the benefit, right? So you build a robot. We've all seen them, on videos, and the backflipping off the scaffold and carrying materials. You must have seen the same one. But it's like, but how much does that cost to make? And outside of that environment, you have to kind of train it within that environment, and then when something's different, a trench or muddy pathway
doesn't work. No, I mean, even like Elon Musk recently said about, because he was betting so much on automating Tesla factories, but then he accepted that he overestimated what automation can do, and he underestimated what people can do, because people are, at the end of the day, are the best for this type of job, right? Because when it has to do with uncertainty, creativity, that's what people do, right? And robots, on the other hand, they are good in things which are routine, right? Where people don't like to do, right? Where it's you need to do the same step every day 100 times, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea that what we had, combining what people best at and robots best at, right? Bringing them together and kind of getting the best outcome.
Yeah, I remember speaking to Simone and Jonas the last time they were on, and it was the same sort of conversations. And again, from a motivational perspective, what do scaffolders want to do? Well, they don't want to stand in a chain. They don't want to stand there, repetitive.
Nobody wants, right?
You want to be building scaffolding. I think it's. I actually, I tend to agree with the point they made. I think I know we've got a skill shortage, and I know Liftbot addresses that skill shortage, as in we don't have enough people. But I actually think it would also encourage more people in, because they know, one, the job isn't as hard anymore because we have elements of automation in there, and two, I'm going to spend more time doing the job that I like doing. I'm going to do the scaffolding aspects of it,
doing cool things, right? I mean, that's kind of one of the topics, right, where people speak about like getting more like younger people in the industry, like give them cool tools. Like, if you
absolutely, I absolutely agree with that. I think that's, for me, we don't really have a kind of mission statement as such as as a business, but it is that do cool shit. I want to. If my company takes me to conferences like this, having these conversations, recording podcasts, going to Lithuania and attending Scaff Chat, it's cool stuff. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what it will bring new people into the industry. If you think, well, actually, we get to work with robots and we get to have these competitions, and it's definitely going to be positive, both from an aspect of replacing the people that have gone from the industry, but also I think probably bringing some new blood in.
And I must say that one of the things that motivated us like the most at the beginning was the industry response. It was like 2016. We were like 6 students fresh out, like still in university, right? And we just went to this conference, and we just like started randomly approaching people in the conference, and we were like, hey, we want to build like scaffolding robot. And we expected that people will react extremely negatively. Like people will say like, why do you want to do this, guys? What it's all about. But surprisingly, everybody was interested. Like scaffolding manufacturers, scaffolding companies, they were like, okay, guys, let's talk. Let's see how we can help, what we can do. So what I'm trying to say is that, even though like construction and scaffolding is considered to be one of the most conservative areas, we were really surprised by this like welcome attitude, and that's like what's one of the things that kind of kept us carrying on, because if we will get like really negative responses right away, and it will just discourage us.
Yeah, I'm thinking of some of the ones that I get. And it's so funny as well, because like every people kind of don't know what they want, but they won't stop. That they don't really know what they want, and then they ask for something, and when you deliver it, a lot of times like, oh no, and they kind of dismiss the idea straight away. It's interesting that they were quite receptive to it. I know I've had similar experiences with using technology in a training environment. We just did some stuff with ScaffPlan. We brought 3D models into the training room. The guys scanned the QR code. They took them through to a Trimble 3D model. They scanned around it, and and then we built an aspect of it out in the training environment. But before we did this in the training course, I told the bosses of the company, and they were like, "Whoa, lads, they were
why do we need to change, right?"
But these are the people who are asking for change, saying that it needs to change. And then when you change it, they go, "Oh, no one will. They won't like that." But then as soon as we got it out, they were like, "Oh, this is cool." Do you ever get that when you're doing it?
No, absolutely. And then that's for us. I think that's quite often like an eye-opening. It's the fact that, I mean, let's be real, right? When we bring Liftbot on site, like scaffolders, they just say why we need to do it, why that, right? But after 1 or 2 days of working with Liftbot, they change their opinion 180 degrees because they realize that actually their backs like feel better afterwards. They have more energy to spend with their family, with their friends, with their children, and they understand that actually they are the ones who are benefiting the most with it. So they become advocates. So we actually had it several times already where like company owners who were like really negative, they were like surprised to see the positive feedback from their people, and that's what kind of changed their opinion in the end. And that's I think that's very important in this industry, because like having like everybody, like all stakeholders on board, because it doesn't work if you just make like owner happy, right? Because then like scaffolders like why it's good for me, or other way around, right?
I always say, maybe a bit of a dreamer, I don't know, but I always say start with the scaffolder. No matter what, you've got to start with the scaffolder. And the same with training, the same with things like risk assessments and method statements. If we're writing a risk assessment and a method statement for a complex scaffold, and we're putting it in language that the health and safety executive can understand, but the scaffolder can't, then we've made a big mistake, because they're building the job. Same with the training. If we're putting training that's going to please government and people who have no understanding of the trade that we're teaching them about, then it's a big mistake. And same with Liftbot and with technology. If the company owner thinks, this is brilliant, it's going to save me loads of money, I'm going to be a rich man, but the scaffolders are like, well, this is rubbish, we hate using it, you're not going to win. I think you always have to start from the bottom.
Yeah.
It's a big belief of mine.
Absolutely.
I've got one last question before we move on, because I know you've got a flight to catch, haven't you?
Yeah.
we could talk all night. How do you see the role of AI in sort of the construction space?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big topic right now, and it's like very early days. We are like, if you think about like internet, right? We are like, today we are in 1996. So it's like all things are still to happen. It's not, if you feel like you are behind on things, no, not at all. It's just really early days. When it comes to AI, I think there are several areas where things can be will be impacted in a sense. So first thing is like knowledge management. Essentially comes back to the topic of like labor shortage. Just put simply words, every company has this guy or girl who has like 30 years of experience in this company and know everything, but then they have extremely difficult time to give it to young people, right? Because then young people need to work with them for 4 or 5 years. So I believe that AI will help to transfer this knowledge, right? Because in a sense that it will be possible to get the knowledge out of the head of the person like much faster way, right? But by just being like a co-pilot or working with this person and then essentially being like that kind of knowledge center, right? So that's one other way to make like lives of companies easier. Another way is in general like have AI help with like some sort of like internal Wikipedia where it has all knowledge of what's happening today.
Like an operating manual.
Like operating manual or like just like Wikipedia just for your company where and it's like in live mode, like what's going on in this job, right?
Yeah.
And in this sense, robotics helps like for example, Liftbot has a number of sensors and also software behind. So in a sense, it's automatically collects data about what's happening on the job without anyone needing to write anything or put like into their phone or tablet. And then essentially you get full understanding of what's like, of how much like how many hours or how much material was moved, which height, you can also put additional sensors in it, right? So essentially robotics automatically gather the information from the job and puts it in this central brain. So in a sense, like project manager or like if you do a bid for a new job, right, you can easily like ask a question. So like we did this job like 2 years ago, how many men we used there, how much material we used there, how long it took us. So let me take this information now and let me use this for the new bid. Right, like today it's hard. Today you need to go through a lot of like old documents, or you need to remember things. Right, somebody needs to be really diligent to document this. Right, with kind of robotics and having this smart systems on job sites, you kind of get automatic access to this, and also all the systems that are in the middle. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, and the old saying, what gets measured gets managed.
Absolutely.
It's so easy to measure. You can't really.
No,
unless you were recording the guys all day, which I'm sure they'd love. But unless you were doing that, you would never really know what the output was. This
absolutely, you cannot improve what you cannot measure, right? That's like management mantra. And I mean, at the end of the day, the goal is, there will be a lot of kind of figuring out what's the right way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously there is a lot of fear of people being like controlled, Like I think nobody wants this. Like probably some people want this, but the reality is that it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I think the goal here is to actually figure out like right balance, and so that like company gets what it needs and people get. Because one of the things we are working on as well is the right gratification mechanism as well. Because what I mean by this, I think that like we believe that incentives in the industry are somewhat broken, because today you just think about scaffolders. They're being paid by amount of hours they spend on site, right?
Yeah, sometimes by like a price. So it's price per completed item or price per meter sometimes.
So the company in a sense, right? But the scaffolders themselves.
Sometimes even the scaffolders can be paid by meter. Sometimes.
Sometimes, right? So it's not like industry, like
No, it's not the
right
norm.
I mean, what we think about when we speak about this, we think about we usually make the comparison to like a tips, like the waiter. I mean, it's not a big concept in Europe, but in North America, it is a big concept, right? It's like where you do have like big portion of what waiter gets is based on how good they were with their job, right?
Yeah.
So this motivates them to provide really good level of service, right? And they have this upside. They can actually make much more money than if they will have like a fixed salary, right? So the same is here is that if you actually know exactly what's happening with you, or what you've done, and actually if you've done a good job, you can actually pretend on much better compensation than like others who probably didn't do that well, right? So that's kind of a bit of a thought process, right? And that's kind of a advantages that having a higher transparency offers, right? But again,
I believe it's the only way. I mean, again, you talk about business mantras, and like I do genuinely believe that transparency is the only way. And we talk like AI and the internet, and we live in an age of abundant information. You can find out anything. You want to look at any products and you can see the reviews. Liftbot the same. Or any other products in scaffolding. People use it, they will get benefit or they won't. They will like it or they won't. They will have positives or negatives. It's all out there in the open. Like, everyone has access to it. So there's absolutely no value in being anything other than transparent. You say, look, this is what it is. This is what it can do. This is what it can't do. And I think you end up winning like that.
Absolutely.
You got a flight to catch from.
Yeah,
we better wrap it up. But mate, it's been absolutely fantastic. Finally meeting.
Yeah, finally in person.
But yeah, I think probably next stop Scaff Champ, won't it?
Yeah, sounds good.
Try and get you there this year, or maybe Balmer.
Yeah, Balmer's a good one.
Man of many conferences.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll catch up on the next one. It's been a pleasure, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
I truly hope you enjoy this episode. If you do, all I ask is that you like, subscribe, and get notified every time we drop a new episode.